What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing good out there. Today, I want to talk about something that's been getting a decent amount of attention from fans of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, because the latest update, patch 1.0.2, just dropped. And while it's not the biggest game changer in the world, it's got a few things that are definitely worth talking about. This one's officially called the Halloween update. And yeah, it dropped right around the perfect time. Late October, spooky season, the perfect excuse for some vampiric flair. But instead of being a flashy new content dump or a massive gameplay overhaul, it's more of a quality-focused update that quietly improves the experience and adds some new customization goodies for players who care about personalizing their character. So let's talk about what's actually going on with this patch and why it matters more than it might seem at first glance. When I first saw the update notes, I honestly thought, okay, cosmetics, fixes, cool. But once I looked closer, it started to feel like a subtle shift in how the developers are handling the game post-launch. This is one of those updates where the details might seem small, but they tell you a lot about where the studio's head is at. So first off, what's actually included? The biggest headline feature is the addition of 24 new cosmetic options for your vampire character. That's 8 new hairstyles, 8 new makeup styles, and 8 new eye colors. It's not just filler stuff either. These aren't just palette swaps or slightly tweaked versions of old assets. A lot of players are saying the new styles actually look really solid and add more variety than before. There's a nice mix between more gothic, classic vampire looks and some modern, edgier styles that feel more aligned with the urban setting of Bloodlines 2. It's cool because one of the things that fans of the series have always loved is the way it blends old-world vampire lore with a gritty, neon-lit city vibe. And this update leans into that aesthetic without changing the core tone of the game. Now, this might not sound huge on paper, but cosmetics can have a big impact in a game like this. Bloodlines 2 is an immersive RPG where how your character looks actually contributes to how you feel while playing. You're not just another generic protagonist, you're creating a vampire who fits your vision of what it means to walk that thin line between human society and the secret world of the undead. Being able to pick from more hairstyles or tweak your look helps with that sense of ownership. And honestly, for players who like replaying the game or experimenting with different clans or playstyles, new visual options are always welcome. It just keeps things feeling fresh. Beyond the cosmetics, the patch is primarily about stability and fixes. It focuses on squashing a variety of bugs and crashes that players have been running into since launch. You know how it is. New games, especially ones as complex as this, tend to have weird little hiccups, whether it's animation glitches, quest triggers misfiring, or random performance dips. This patch specifically aims to smooth those edges out. Reports from the community so far suggest that it's done a decent job improving reliability. There aren't massive FPS gains or graphical upgrades in this patch. Performance improvements are probably coming later, but the game does feel steadier overall. Some players have said their crashes during certain missions or cutscenes have stopped happening, and that's always a good sign. It's clear the developers wanted to make sure that this update would keep the experience enjoyable without overpromising on features they're still working on. And that brings us to the interesting part. The developers actually made a point of clarifying what isn't in this patch, but is planned for future ones. They specifically mentioned that some bigger quality of life improvements like a field of view slider, new save system options, and custom difficulty settings are still being developed. Those are features that a lot of players have been asking for since launch, especially the FOV slider and save options. It's actually refreshing to see them being transparent about it instead of quietly sneaking those updates in months later. It gives a sense that they're actively listening to feedback and mapping out a roadmap that makes sense. The FOV slider in particular is one of those things that people underestimate until they don't have it. A lot of players get motion sickness or just find the default camera too tight, so being able to adjust it to your liking can make a huge difference in comfort. And then there's the save system. Having more control over how and when you can save the game is always a win in a story-driven RPG. It's the kind of feature that might not sound exciting in a trailer, but becomes essential once you're a few hours into your playthrough. And of course, custom difficulty settings mean more replayability, more accessibility, and just more ways to tailor the experience to your taste. The fact that all these features are on the horizon is honestly great news. So while this particular patch might not be the blockbuster one that completely changes how you play Bloodlines 2, it's a meaningful step. It's like the developers are tightening the foundation before they start stacking on the bigger systems and features. Think of it as setting the tone for how the game will evolve in the coming months. You can tell they're trying to balance between adding fun stuff, like the Halloween-themed cosmetics, and improving the actual stability of the experience. That's the sweet spot most players want anyway. A stable, well-running game that still gives you reasons to come back and play. What's also interesting is how the community is reacting. The player base is split, but in a pretty predictable way. Some people are happy about the update. They see it as a nice bonus for Halloween and appreciate the bug fixes. Others feel like it's not enough, saying they'd rather see performance improvements or bigger gameplay updates. Both perspectives are fair. On one hand, it's hard not to want more content or new features, especially when a game like this has such a deep fan history and expectations tied to it. On the other hand, it's kind of important to recognize that polishing and stabilizing the current version is what makes those bigger updates possible down the road. What I personally find encouraging is the pattern that's starting to emerge here. The team isn't just patching issues randomly. They're releasing structured updates that align with seasons or events like this Halloween drop. That kind of schedule helps keep momentum going and gives players something to look forward to without having to wait half a year for any signs of life. It's a smart move for community engagement. And let's talk for a second about timing, because the release of this patch right before Halloween wasn't accidental. Bloodlines 2 is a vampire RPG. It's practically made for this season. Launching a themed update with new cosmetics right before Halloween is just good timing and good marketing, but it also shows a bit of playfulness from the developers. They're embracing the tone of the world they've built. The vampire genre thrives on atmosphere and presentation, so updates that touch the visual side of things actually do matter. Now, for anyone wondering if this update is worth installing right now, the answer is yes, absolutely. Even if you're not that interested in the new cosmetic options, the stability fixes alone make it worth updating. It won't change the way the game feels mechanically, but it'll make your sessions smoother, and that's something every player can appreciate. Plus, since it's free, there's really no reason to skip it. If you're currently in the middle of a playthrough or thinking of starting one soon, you'll definitely have a better experience with the patch installed. One small note, before updating, it's a good habit to back up your saves, especially if you're playing on PC. The developers didn't mention any issues with saves in this update, but it's always better to be safe. Once that's done, you can check out the new hairstyles, makeup, and eye colors in the character customization screen. You'll notice the new additions are clearly marked so you can try them out right away. Now, looking forward, the next patches will be the ones to really keep an eye on. Those are the ones that are supposed to introduce those quality of life updates, like the FOV slider and custom difficulty. Those will be the patches that make the game feel more complete and adaptable for different kinds of players. If the developers keep up this pace and release cadence, we might start seeing Bloodlines 2 settle into a really solid post-launch rhythm, which would be great considering how rocky the original Bloodlines game was when it first came out years ago. Fans have been waiting a long time for a proper successor that's both faithful to the original and modern enough to stand on its own, and updates like this suggest the developers are taking that responsibility seriously. In a way, this patch feels like a small love letter to fans, something to keep people engaged while the team continues to refine and build. It's the kind of gesture that reminds you that the game is alive, supported, and evolving. That's always reassuring, especially in today's gaming landscape where some titles release, get one or two patches, and then fade into silence. Bloodlines 2 doesn't seem to be heading down that path, and that's a good thing.